All right, so for this first video on data basics, where the whole idea of statistics and data is to try to make sense of numbers, right? You look at the string of numbers, what do they mean to you? Nothing, because they are a string of numbers. In order for you to actually understand what's going on, first step that you really have to do is try to organize the data, okay? And organization involves these big first three. These are called measures of central tendency, which gives you an average sense or the center of the data. Like, what is the data really saying, right? And you really can't tell with individual numbers, but you can tell when you try to collect all the data, squeeze it into just a singular number. So let's go through each one of these. So the easiest one for you to understand with regards to this is the mode, right? That's the number that appears the most. Okay, so if you go through this 32, 35, 76, 29, 30, 32, 31, 39, 28, and 34, the number that repeats the most happens to be 32. So that's quite easy, right? The mode in itself is simply 32. Easy peasy done. The next easiest thing to understand is the median, right? The median is the number that's literally in the middle. But in order for us to actually figure this out, we actually have to rewrite this, right? So median refers to the middle number, but the middle number is the order, it has to be ordered from least to greatest. So I'm gonna write from least to greatest, okay? So the way that you do this is simply just go through it and cross out to figure out what's the smallest number, right? So off the bat, I can see that 28 is the smallest number, so I'm gonna put 28 right there. I'll cross it off. Then I'll put 29 as the next greatest number. So now we are in the 30s. And then we're gonna go through, I see 30 here, so I'm gonna cross out 30. 31 is next. And 32 repeats itself twice, so I'm gonna put 32, 32. And then after that, it's going to be, I'll cross that out, 34 over here, 35, 39, and then 76 as the last number, okay? Bam. Now I have all these numbers from least to greatest. And then I can figure out what's the middle number, okay? So it's counting towards the center, 76, 28, 39, 29, 35, 30, 34, 31, 32, 32. So usually, if it's odd, right? If it's odd, then it's gonna be the number that's right in the middle over here, okay? But because it's even, we would be able to take the average between these two numbers to figure out what the median is, okay? So if it's odd, it's the middle number, but if it's even, right? If even, it's gotta be the average of two middle numbers, okay? And in this case right here, however, the average of 32 plus 32 is 64 divided by 2, it would be still 32, right? So 32 plus 32 divided by 2 is equal to 64 over 2, which is actually 32. So the median in this case is actually also 32, okay? The last thing is the mean. The mean refers to the average, okay, of all these numbers. And so the average is calculated simply by doing this thing. You add up all these numbers and you divide it by the total amount of numbers that you have. So you add up all the numbers, that's also known as the sum, right? And then you divide it by however many number of items you have. So sum over items, let's say, okay? In this case right here, I pre-added all these numbers up. That's gonna give me 366. The items, the amount of numbers I have is actually 10. And so if I do 366 divided by 10, I will actually get 36.6 as the mean / average, right? Each of these numbers tell you something about this data set, right? So I made these numbers up. Let's just say this is the amount of ounces of water that people drink. And so what you can tell from this data, at first you couldn't tell anything, but now you can see a story, right? On average, people drink 36.6 ounces of water, right? 50% of the time, or the median, half of the time, half of the people drink more than 32 ounces, and half of the time, people drink less than 32 ounces, okay? And then finally, the mode is, that was the median. The mode is not the most useful piece of data. It's usually between the mean and the median. Finally, the range is, what's the difference, right? What's the highest minus the lowest number? And in this case right here, the range is simply 76 minus 28, okay? And then should you calculate that, you should be able to get the range itself. 8, 6, 48 is the range. So that's the difference between the highest amount of water that's being drank by some person and the lowest amount of water that's being drank by some person. And that's how you basically begin to understand data. You start organizing it into a bunch of data sets.